Jake, when you talk about how selfless the defense played and everybody kind of set up their guy, isn't there a fine line between that and then waiting for somebody to make a play?
Well, they made a lot of plays. They made a lot of plays. I don't think so. I really equate that, like I said on Monday, to the NC State deal where we pressed and we tried to force plays versus doing your job. I mean, defensive football is doing your job. I think these guys have really bought into that. I think it's a hard concept to get 18 to 23-year-olds to really understand. Coach Hayes and our defensive staff has done a tremendous job of showing when we do it really well and how successful we've been, and when we don't do it, how it costs us some things. So I'm just proud of our guys, and I think they've done a good job, though, of resetting, right? Because I think at the end of the day, one good performance doesn't define a season, and it's not going to help us at Florida State. So our guys done a good job of resetting that mechanism, coming out here and working.
What kind of indicators are you looking for in practices to let you know that they've reset?
But just effort to the ball, communication, the physicality of Tuesday, I think it was exactly where it needed to be. I know we're on this final 5 stretch, but Tuesday, might only be an hour and a half, but it's going to be physical as hell, right? So I thought those guys came out there and matched that intensity and demanded a lot of each other, I think is important.
Do you have any concerns about ramping up physicality when it's...
No, because you used the wrong term. It's not ramped up. It's just what we do. And that's all these guys know. And they come out here, and this is the way we practice. We'll take care of them when we need to take care of them. I think there's too many teams across the country that, all of a sudden get to a certain point, and then they don't play the certain way. Now they want to go change things. This is just who we are. It's what we do. It's what our guys know. And I think that leads to our identity.
Part of the reset, obviously, everybody on the team sees the name on the marquee that they're playing. Does that help a little bit, knowing that they're going to Florida State, a big football tradition with a massive, loud crowd?
Yeah, I think so. And we talked about it. We played the chop. We've done all those different type of things that we would for any other opponent in preparation of it. And if you're an ultimate competitor, these are the arenas that you want to be in. But you can't be too high. I think that's when you get emotional. That's when you get outside the framework of your best state of performance, right? So we need to just make sure that we're calm, cool, collected, and we're executing, because they got tremendous talent. I think it's really easy to see. They lost 4 one-score games. We could easily be talking about an undefeated team. So, and they've had 2 weeks to prepare for us, right? So I just told the team here, they've been studying your every release, your every stance, whether you have a tell or not, right? So our preparation this week has to be extremely intense. We're not just watching film, we're studying film, right? We're not just preparing during meetings. We're focused and intense to what I need to do to play my role. So we got to match that preparation state and be ready to execute.
I'm curious, you said, matchups like these are part of the reason a lot of these kids came to Wake Forest. Yeah. Is it part of the reason you came to Wake Forest too?
Yeah, I think you got a staple program, ACC, but you also, know we're trying to build who we are, and I'm really proud of what we've done so far. But heck yeah, these are great competitive moments against great blue blood programs that. If you're an ultimate competitor, these are what you train for, it's what you work for, right? But just like players, coaches, same deal. I've been in a few more of these type of environments maybe than some of these guys. You got some Florida kids going back home. That creates some energy and some different off the field stuff. So if we keep it to the grass, I think we can be really successful.
It seems like Castellanos has not fared well against pressure, against blitzes. But at the same time, you can't send guys after him all the time because he's so mobile. How do you kind of balance that?
It is an extreme balance. I'm trying to think of what comp I would have for him, but he's kind of like a Russell Wilson-esque guy, maybe young Russell Wilson.
But that NC State Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that can run around a little bit and make some plays. I almost, when we played Caleb Williams when he was at USC, everyone thought I was crazy, but I said, this guy's not only the best quarterback on the field, he's the best running back. So it's interesting, he gets out of some stuff, right? So I go more in the terms of scramble drill. You send people at him, that doesn't mean the ball's just coming out. He can create a lot of things back there where, you're blitzing him to speed up his clock, but he extends the clock, and we got to be really good on the back end. So, obviously we'll see if he goes, but he's a special type guy that can create a lot of different things off script.
I feel like you guys up front have the ability to pursue probably better than other teams I've seen in the past, just like Jaden Loving last week.
Yeah.
Tracking down the quarterback on that one.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's a blended skill set though up front, and that's what I think is really good. We got some speed players, we got some power players, but we got guys that really hunt together, and I think that's another way when we talk about being unselfish is like rush lanes. Like you don't just see when we rush with 4 guys, like all these guys just getting up the field and selfish rushing. So against a guy like this, you really have to make sure like the 2 inside rushers are on the feet, right back shoulder, and we're kind of swarming them together. Because a lot of times in guys like this, the guy that gets the sack isn't the guy that gets to him first, right? It's the guy that's kind of still working and straining behind the scenes. The second man in is the one that gets a lot of these plays. So those guys have seen that, and their effort will be rewarded.
Kind of a 3-part question here. How's Robbie doing? Is he going to be the starting quarterback? Are you going to keep that under kind of wraps for a few more days? And then how's the rest of the injury situation looking for you guys?
Yeah. Robbie is closer to full strength. I will never say that he's exactly full strength, but he's definitely closer than he was last week. Okay, so we had a good couple days of preparation. I got to go evaluate the tape. Last week we named a starter after Wednesday. We probably won't name a starter until after Thursday. So we're going to see one more day, and those guys are competing. Might play both of them, so we just got to figure out what's best for the team in that moment, and we'll continue to make those decisions.
Rest of the injury situation? Anything of note?
No, the injury report will come out on Thursday. Yeah.
I did have one question kind of related. Will Lorzel reappeared on the depth chart.
Yep.
Is
he's back
in the mix?
Yeah, he's back. So he did like light practices last week. Now he put the pads back on, and you'll see him out there. Now, just like anything else, we can't just say, hey, here's 80 plays. What we brought Will here for was, he's 255 pounds. Like, he's a big dude. He can anchor the edge. And we've kind of been missing that a little bit in some of our run games. So excited about his style of football and kind of adding that to our tight end room.
Sean Williams fell off of it. Is he out for the season? Or is there
right now we're working through that. We got one more kind of x-ray of a foot that we got to see, and that'll kind of determine the path going forward.
And then off the injury train, how valuable is the tape for Deshaun, showing him this is what works, this is what doesn't, in both a game where he throws 4 touchdowns and then a game where he has 3 turnovers?
Obviously you're talking about 2 really different caliber defenses, so someone that can really disrupt you got to stay within the core, and that's so we're working on a bunch of technical things with them. We never change people's throwing motion, but platforms, feet, aim points, command, there's a lot of things that we need to get better at. The one he just sailed, the one he kind of missed a little bit. There's a blend of that, and then saying, hey, well, you picked yourself up off the ground, and we converted 3 times in 3rd down in the 4th quarter, right? So there's some of those things that are a blend, and I thought he's done a good job of approaching this week and coming out here and competing.
Your predecessor used to tell us that quarterbacks, once they get to college, cannot become more accurate. They just become better decision makers, and they can get better timing. Can you buy into that, or can you make a quarterback more accurate?
That's a great debate that we have in staff. The other one is, can you teach ball skills, right? So as a receiver, I'm firmly ingrained that you cannot teach ball skills, right? Accuracy, I think you can, because I think there's a bunch of little things that can help them, right? A lot of times we have a lot of feet issues or arm and lower body in sync. I think that improves accuracy. I think we already have a little bit for Deshaun. I think we have a lot for Robbie too, and those are tweaks. And Coach Enos, I think, is a phenomenal quarterbacks coach and a very specific technician about how he does it. So I think you can, because Deshaun is coming in as a thrower and he's getting closer to being a passer. But I think accuracy is a lot of different things. It's reading coverages and knowing where to put the ball, and because there's a lot of things that go into that one term.
Yeah, it's one of those. How do you say who's the greatest of all time? You have so many different qualifications of.
Mine is Brett Favre, but that's just different. I'm biased. That's
where are you from again?
That's my guy. So the old gunslinger. He'd drive you nuts, and he had to go make some plays.
NFL record for interceptions too.
He would say you have to throw some to get some, right? So he also set the touchdown record at that time, and you had to throw some interceptions to get there.
I'm curious, on the flip side of that, you say you can't really teach ball skills to receivers, then how do you get them to become better receivers? Is it catch radius, route running?
I think there's a little bit. How people manipulate their hands is like pass catching to me. And we study a lot of guys. We'll dot recruits on, where they're catching the ball, right? And the more the guys outside of his frame, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like going into camp or after camp, like all of his drops were down here, right? So at least helps him in a targeted deal. When you go over to the jugs, this is the catch that we need to continue to work. We can improve it. I'm not saying you can go from bad ball skills to elite ball skills. We can improve the type of catches that I think he needs to work on in a focused lens. So we try to do it that way, but I've never just said, hey, this DB can't catch the ball. All of a sudden, he's just going to be an elite catcher of the ball. Yep.
That's good.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.